I'm an illustrator too. So raise your hand if you could tell everybody the job of an author. What does an author do?
They write a book.
He or she writes the book. So then what does the illustrator do? What's their job?
Write in the book.
Well, the author writes the words, but who draws the pictures? The illustrator. So since I get to write my own stories and draw my own stories, I get to have twice the fun. I use my imagination a lot. But best of all, I get to write and draw about the things I love the most. So look at my drawings and raise your hand if you can guess what my favorite thing to write and draw about is.
Teddy bears.
Yes, I love teddy bears. I wrote and illustrated 3 different books about teddy bears. But today I'll be sharing my most unusual teddy bear book with you, Town, Teddy, and Country Bear. And Town, Teddy, and Country Bear is a special kind of story called a fable. And raise your hand if you've ever heard of a fable. And keep your hand raised if you know what's different about a fable. What makes a fable different than every other kind of story?
It's illustrated by it.
It's illustrated. Anything else? Yes. Mm-hmm. It's a made-up story also. Anything else that's special about it?
It has 2 different bears in it.
My fable has 2 different bears. But the thing that makes a fable different from all other stories is that a fable is a story that teaches us a lesson. So what I'm going to do now is read and act out the story of Town, Teddy, and Country Bear. And at the end of the story, let's see if anyone here can figure out what lesson this story is trying to teach us. One thing I want to remind you about before I begin the story is that I'm the author and the illustrator of this book. I did all the illustrations you see here today. And raise your hand if you can guess what I might have used to color my drawings with. Yes? Ink? Good guess. I'll give you a hint. It's something with a sharp point. Not a pen. You're close.
Colored pencil.
Lots and lots of colored pencils. And raise your hand if you've ever used colored pencils. Doesn't it take a very long time to color something in that way? You put your hands down. I want you to know it took me a whole week to color each page of my book. Thank goodness I didn't have to do the drawings this large. I did them small like the pages of my book, and then I had the pages made into these big posters. But you might have noticed I like to draw a lot of detail in my drawings, and that's what takes so long. Well, without any further delay, let's begin the story of Town, Teddy, and Country Bear. Now we can guess that this story is about a country bear and a city bear because of the title of the story, Town, Teddy, and Country Bear. So let's look at the first bear on the left side of the page. Look at what he's wearing. Look at what's behind him. And raise your hand if you can guess if that's the country bear or the city bear. It's the country bear. And what gave you a clue? What did you see that made you think of the country? There's no car. Did you notice what was missing? What else do you see in the picture that lets you know he lives in the country?
They have mountains.
Mountains, very good. What else?
They have a cabin.
There's a log cabin. A little log cabin, a special kind of house. Doesn't have tall buildings, very good. It has sort of a country-looking fence. What about what he's wearing? Yes? What's he wearing on his head?
A hat.
A cowboy hat. Well, I brought along my special cowboy hat, which I bought in the Wild West of Wyoming, and I'm putting it on to read the country bear's side of the page. Because if you look at that country bear, I'd say he's got a problem. Let's read and find out what it is. The country bear says, "Oh, bored stiff. That's how I felt about living in the Wyoming wilderness. Howdy, folks. My name's Bandana Bear, and I never thought it would happen. But my life in the country became so boring. Every day I did the same thing. It was so quiet. My neighbors lived miles apart. What I really dreamed of was excitement and adventure. I needed a change. Looks like that country bear is really bored with his quiet country life. Now let's look on the other side of the page where we see his city cousin, Tuxedo Teddy. And raise your hand if you can point out what you see in the drawing that lets you know he lives in the city. Yeah.
New York.
He does, you're right, he lives in the best city of all, New York City. In fact, he's standing right in the middle of Times Square, the busiest part of the whole city. What else do you see? Lots of cars. What else do you see? Lots of tall buildings. A lot of cars. His clothes are different. He's wearing a tuxedo. Anything else? All of the billboards and lights and tall buildings. Well, speaking of his outfit, I brought along my very fancy top hat, which I'm going to put on to read the city bear side of the page. And if you look at that city bear, I'd say he's got a problem. Let's read and find out what it is. The city bear says, "Oh, utterly overwhelmed and stressed out. That's how I felt about living in New York City. Pleased to meet you. My name is Tuxedo Teddy, and I never thought it would happen. But my life in New York City became too busy. There was too much noise, too much traffic, too many people. What I really dreamed of was peace and quiet. I need a change." Well, it looks like that city bear could use a change from his busy city life. So raise your hand if you can think of a way for these two bears to solve their problem. They each want a different kind of life. What could they do?
They can switch, like, if they meet again, they can switch.
They can swap places. Well, that's exactly what happens. They swap homes. These two bears meet at a